Progress over perfection. It's a term that gets thrown around a lot. We're encouraged to seek progress over perfection, but it is rare for people to share what that actually looks like in their own life. When you're not just talking the talk, but you're walking the walk. On this episode, I share what it's looked like in my life to pursue progress over perfection with an all-go and no-woe mentality throughout 2021, as well as what I've learned from this practice. If you need to quit sitting on the fence and start taking action on what you've been called to do, but you're just not sure how to go about it, this episode is for you, sister. Hey y'all, and welcome. You're listening to the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Dawn Johnson, small-town cowgirl with southern roots, blazing a trail as a Midwest ranch wife, mama, and businesswoman. The mission of Cowgirl Confessions is to share the wonderfully wild and western life stories of cowgirls from all walks of life. We'll talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle. Legendary cowgirl Dale Evans said it best. Cowgirl is a pioneer spirit, a special brand of American courage. The cowgirl faces life head-on, lives by her own lights, and makes no excuses. Cowgirls take stands. They speak up. They defend the things they hold dear. A cowgirl might be a rancher, a barrel racer, a bull rider, or an actress, but she's just as likely to be a checker at the local Winn-Dixie, a full-time mother, a banker, an attorney, or an astronaut. If you're into wet saddle blankets, talks with God, buckets full of laughter, and the life lessons learned in the process, kick off your boots and settle in. I pray these stories encourage, empower, and give you just the leg up you need. Here's to embracing the cowgirl state of mind, no matter how wild and western life may get along the way. Welcome back and Happy New Year. It is 2022, y'all. Before we jump into today's topic, I want to thank each of you that have taken the time to leave a review for the podcast and share this review from one of our listeners. Reagan G says, the message shared by Dakota and through her experiences, as well as the host of incredible guests she's featured, is a perfect way to refill your cup. No matter your background, this podcast has something to offer for women from all walks of life. Reagan, thank you so much for your kind words and taking the time to leave a review. It's listeners like you that are helping this podcast listenership grow and truly make a difference on this side of heaven. Reagan, I want to pray for you. Lord, I pray that Reagan feels just as encouraged as her review left me feeling, and that you will expand her territory in 2022 through the gifts that you've already blessed and equipped her with. Amen. So, a new year means a lot of different things for everyone. But for me, a new year means a new word. A few years ago, a dear friend and mentor of mine shared with me that she had a word of the year. I was intrigued because I'd never heard of anything like this before. And I said, tell me about this word of the year thing. And in short, it was a word that she'd pray about the last couple of months of the year as she reviewed what that year had been like and thought about what she wanted to focus on the upcoming year. Then that helped her determine her new word for the year. So I got on the word of the year bandwagon and have been ever since. Never looked back. Progress over perfection was my word. Okay, 3 words for 2021. It was the phrase I reminded myself of and drew my focus back to day in and day out. And I'm going to share a little bit of what 2021 looked like for me as I walked the walk with my focus on progress over perfection. What I learned from leaning into this idea and how the growth I experienced over the past year has helped me identify my word for 2022, which is cadence. Whenever I saw the word cadence, I pictured, a horse and rider and how when they are in sync with one another, like it's so beautiful, it looks almost effortless. But you don't ever reach a point of cadence with a horse, as any of you that have ever ridden before. Like, it takes a lot of hours, wet saddle blankets, time in the saddle to get to that point where you look like you're working as a team. And that's, really this past year just has laid the foundation for me to just have this deep desire to have a healthier cadence in all aspects of my life so that I can show up and serve those people in my life better and really lean into my calling. So what did all this look like? Leaning into the progress over perfection concept in a big way this past year was really challenging for me. It was scary and messy at times, but I made my mind up to stay hooked and trust the process of just embracing it. Now, this isn't the first time I've actively embraced the progress over perfection idea. I've implemented this way of thinking before on specific projects or tasks. However, 2021 was the first time that I have just been laser focused and pursued progress over perfection in all areas of my life with an all go and no woe mentality. There are 5 key things I learned throughout this process that I want to share with you today. But first, I'm going to say this, and if you don't hear anything else on this podcast, please hear this. You ready? In order to walk the walk, not just talk the talk, in order to take action and quit sitting on the fence in all areas of my life, I had to have courage, not confidence. I'll say that again. I had to choose to have the courage to take action. I couldn't wait until I was confident to take those first steps. All right, let's dive into the 5 key things I learned. First, be okay with imperfection. Y'all, when you go through it, you grow through it. And taking action leads to growth. 2, be honest. Be honest with yourself and others about what you know and what you don't know. Number 3, be resourceful. Do the best you absolutely can with what you have. Number 4, be willing to invest in yourself, be it time, money, effort, and then once your cup is full, or you have your oxygen mask on, however you want to say it to make it register, that's when you can help others as well as pursuing your dreams and goals. You have to be willing to invest. And number 5, be a good steward. Use the knowledge, the people, the opportunities, the good, the bad, the ugly. Use all of that God has put in your life to make an impact and use it for a good impact. That's why I'm taking the time to share this story with you today and these examples. To be honest, this past year, I felt a lot like the Dr. Seuss book, Green Eggs and Ham, when trying to get this podcast recorded, edited, published, promoted on social media and everything. Literally, I was like, I will podcast in a boat. I will podcast in a hotel bathroom. I will podcast, and I have podcasted in gas station parking lots. Like, I've edited the episodes directly from the app on my phone because I didn't have the bandwidth that day to get it out on my computer. And I hit publish on accident before I had it perfect, before I had it ready. But you know what? I think that was God's way of telling me sitting in that gas station parking lot at, 10 o'clock at night while I was on the road that like, hey, just publish it. Just get it out there. Progress over perfection. And through that, like I said, I've learned those key areas, and it's really created, again, that desire for me to take everything that I've learned and create a cadence, put some systems and strategies in place to help me have a better rhythm, to better serve myself and those around me. So what you can expect to see this year in 2022 from the Cowgirl Confessions podcast will actually be 2 episodes a month, one with me on a specific topic and one with a featured guest. Occasionally, there will be a bonus episode, and there will be a handful of really thought out collaborations and giveaways with individuals and businesses that I really admire and believe in. And before I go any further, I want to just share this thought with you from a book I just finished, the audiobook version from Jennifer Allwood. And it says, "Your feelings do not release you from your calling." I'll say that again. She shares the idea that your feelings do not release you from your calling. So basically, you know what? You're tired, you're scared, you're worried, you have imposter syndrome, fill in the blank, sister. Whatever your feelings are, they do not release you from your calling. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. This podcast is a calling that God has put on my life. It's not that I was, the most qualified for it, that I've had it figured out. No, none of that. It's just something that I know I'm called to do right now in this season of my life. Figuring out, how to do it, that's going to be a constant deal. But last year, I really tried to, I thought in my mind, oh, good podcasters, all the good podcasters, they publish episodes every single week. Now, when I started this in September of 2020, I had the goal of having bi-weekly episodes. And then the overachiever in me in December of 2020 thought, if I could just do, one episode a week, that would really help. More people would listen. And so I put this just do it, pressure on myself to hammer out 4 episodes a month. And while I truly enjoy getting to share stories and all of that, I am in a season of my life that I just had to look at it and reevaluate and be honest with the amount of time I have available to make this a priority. And one of the biggest challenges in this season of my life is that I have a small pocket of time that I can allot to this that is quiet time. Because I have a full-time career, I have a family and 2 small little boys. And I thought, you know what? When I really kind of got out of my head about it, some of my favorite podcasts and people that I really look up to, they don't publish a podcast episode every single week because, you know what? They're doing other things. And I respect that. It doesn't make me value listening to their podcast any less. So if you've had something in your mind you've been thinking about along those lines and you think, oh, everybody's doing it this way, I better do it that way too because that's the only way to grow or get better or share this, pump the brakes. That's not true. You got to do the best you can with what you have in that moment. And, I truly believe that right now I'm being called to be a good steward in using the time I have to produce quality over quantity and really creating a structure and a cadence around this podcast to provide you guys with information that, you want to hear about, which leads me to a request. Reach out to me. I have my email in the show notes on any form of social media. I would love to know some of the topics that you want to hear me talk about on here. 2021 was full of a lot of change for me. And while I was in tune that there would be some change, like the fact that we would become a family of 4, at the beginning of the year, I wasn't aware of some of the opportunities that would come up. And is it just me, or anytime there's a lot of changes and you're having to learn a lot of new things or processes, it's pretty easy to get stuck, feel stuck, oh, I just don't know what I'm supposed to do next. So it was really key that progress over perfection mindset, stayed front and center for me. A lot of praying as well. And the first thing that was a big change is in May of 2021, I made a career shift within Ariat International. I changed positions. I had been working in the apparel division for the past 7 years and felt really confident in that. I'd had pretty much the same customer base serving Oklahoma and Kansas. And, somebody could be walking down the street and I could spout off the 8-digit style number of the jeans they were wearing and tell you which season that shirt was from. I mean, I knew my stuff, but I had been doing that for 7 years. I just had obsessed about the details and learning everything and serving my customers. And, then this opportunity came up to make a shift over to the footwear division. And it was a great opportunity for multiple reasons. And so at 7 months pregnant in May, I had a 2-week period to figure out how to basically wrap up everything I'd been working on in my territory, hand that off to the new rep, and then take everything the 2 reps that were handing off their information for my new territory, learn what they were teaching me, set appointments, get my products unpacked, my samples, and hit the road, showing the new line to as many customers as I could before I had our little boy in July. So there was a lot to do in a short amount of time, and there was no way I was going to get it all done. There was no way that I was actually going to be able to physically get to all of the accounts I had on my door list before I went out on maternity leave. And you know what? There was no way that I was going to learn everything I needed to know to feel confident in that product line. Like I said, I'd been selling apparel for the past 7 years, not footwear. But what I did know, and this is where, the whole idea of you got to have courage, not confidence. Because if I'd have waited around to be confident, then I'd still be sitting at my house and I wouldn't have went out to a single appointment. I wasn't confident in my product knowledge at that point. I knew enough to get by, but what I did know and was how to be resourceful. I knew how to run reports. I knew how to look at the sales data. I knew how to listen to these customers that I was going to go meet and create a rapport with them. And I was in a place to where I knew that, being honest, that's what mattered most. And I'm not saying it's ever okay to not be honest, but I'm sure you've all heard the concept, fake it till you make it. And hey, I embraced that a lot in my early 20s. Just fake it till you make it. Show up, act like you know what you're doing, act like you got it going on. And I'm just here to tell you, that's exhausting. And while I, did have things that I definitely was confident in and I knew how to do, and I was able to share that and assure those accounts that, hey, I've been with Ariat for X number of years. I know how to run the reports. I know how to fix the problems you're having. I can be a problem solver for you. You are going to know more about the footwear assortment you need to buy for your store right now than I do. And that was the truth. It's okay to be honest. Was I hired to be an expert in that position? Absolutely. Am I working at that every day? You bet I am. Did I know everything when I showed up at those, first appointments? No. Do I still know everything? Or do I know everything still? You know what I'm trying to say here. I'm messing this up, but I'm going to keep going. No, I still don't know everything there is to know about footwear, but I show up, I do my research, I'm resourceful with what I have, and it's just progress over perfection at this point. And so that was really, really key in making that transition and just saying, okay, I've got the courage to show up. I've got the courage to, just be honest with these people, and be resourceful with what I have. Another example later in the year, was I launched my website, DakotaDawnJohnson.com. It's in the show notes. And y'all, this has been something that I have literally had on a vision board for years. I knew what I wanted it to feel like when somebody landed on my site. And honestly, more than anything, the past few years, I've just realized that, social media, it's great. It's great for connecting and all the things, but it's borrowed land, and whenever Instagram or Facebook deems that they don't like what you're saying or it goes down for the day, I don't want to build a business on borrowed land, plain and simple. And so it had really been, on a goal of mine, a huge goal of mine to get my website up and going and not in a way of me trying to do it myself, because I wanted a foundation. I knew what I wanted. I could envision it, but I also knew that I didn't have the bandwidth at this season of my life to learn how to do all the things, coding on the back end. And then I really didn't have a desire to learn it either. I just wanted it up and done. I wanted to be able to see the physical website. I wanted to know that it could function and have it in a place to where it could function for the growth and the goals I have for it, a year from now, 3 years from now. And so I had to make a choice there to invest, and in that investment, it was time, it was effort, but it was a financial investment, paying somebody else to do the work that I don't know how to do yet, with the plan of them teaching me, this year, how to make it all run to where I can be in more of a self-serving capacity there, instead of having to ask somebody to do that work for me and pay them. And so I just had to invest. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it. In order for that to happen in the time that I had set, I was like, I'm not going to go another year with this sitting on my vision board. It's going to come to life this year in 2021. And it did. But you know what? It didn't come to life on October 1st like I had planned. And like my website designer and branding gal, we had October 1st put on the calendar, and it just didn't happen. And so instead of just being like, oh, I'm going to scrap that plan, going to be done. No, it actually worked out more perfect than I could have ever imagined. And we launched the website on my mom's birthday, November 6th. And, that was just so incredibly special. Like another podcast on all of that another day, but it felt so good to know that I had invested and kept a promise to myself. It wasn't until recently that I shifted my way of thinking, because in past years, I would say, you know what, I'm going to invest in myself once I keep a promise to myself. And now I'm like, no, I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to invest in the tools I need or the knowledge I need in order to keep a promise to myself. And here's what I mean by that. I can't tell you how many times I would say, you know what, I'm going to, commit to walking or jogging 3 miles a day. And I'm going to go buy myself a set of shoes that are suitable for doing that on a rural road with gravel. Once I do that for 2 weeks, I set my goal. I do it, 5 out of 7 days a week. Once I've done that for 2 weeks and I've proven I'm going to keep this promise to myself, I'll go buy myself that nice pair of shoes, comfortable pair of shoes. And then I'll be like, 10 days in and my back's sore. I got blisters on my feet. I've rolled my ankle because you know what? I didn't go buy the shoes that I needed up front. What was going to help me get the job done. I didn't invest in that in order to keep a promise to myself. I know it's a mindset shift, y'all, but if you have been sitting on the fence with something as little as that, like go buy yourself the shoes, go invest, in whatever it is that will help you do your job or help you pursue, that calling that you have. Keeping a promise to yourself is important, and you need to invest first, not wait. Invest so that you can keep that promise to yourself. Another way that I invested in myself in 2021 was by joining the Cowgirls Over Coffee membership. And more information is about this, all the ins and outs, on a previous episode with Thea Larson. You can go back and listen to episode number 43 to learn more about the Cowgirls Over Coffee membership. But in short, it's where a group of women, that have ties to the Western and rural lifestyle, we come together on this platform to just, support each other, encourage each other, learn from each other, and connect, because it can get really, really lonely sometimes when you are, whether you are trying to build a business or you're just trying to better serve your family and keep from feeling like the train is about to run off the tracks. When you can have a group of like-minded women around you that are lifting you up and encouraging you and helping you think outside the box, it is so incredible. And that was an investment that I made that was financial and a time investment throughout this year that was so worth it. That membership space will be opening up again for a short period of time, the end of this month. I believe membership enrollment actually opens up on January the 20th. You can go visit Cowgirls Over Coffee on Instagram. But the relationships that have been cultivated through me investing in that way have been more than worth the financial commitment, as well as the commitment of time, each week to set aside time for the Zoom calls and to learn and to listen to the podcast. That's one of my favorite features on it, is that there's a private podcast. But, choosing to invest in myself in that way also has allowed me to, I feel like, just be a really good steward as well of what God has put me in proximity with some of these women, and the things that I've learned from them, how I've been able to be a good steward of that and incorporate that into my day-to-day life for me and my family, as well as share it and incorporate it into my business strategies with customers and my corporate job, and really just, share it here on this podcast. So in different ways. And I just can't stress enough how important it is to be willing to invest in yourself. And I hope that you will remember to do that in this new year that we have been blessed with. So I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. And again, the 5 key things that I learned while embracing progress over perfection with that all go and no woe mentality this past year were to be okay with imperfection, to be honest, be resourceful, be willing to invest, and to be a good steward. You guys, you got to have the courage to take those first steps. You have to choose to have courage. You don't have to have the confidence to take the first step. That confidence will come over time. It's just like a muscle. You just build it the more you do things and you take action. So I pray this blesses you and that you have a wonderful start to the new year, and look forward to hearing from you. Take care. Thank you for spending your time with me on the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm so glad y'all stopped by. If you could take a moment to share this episode and tag us on social media, I'd be happier than a cowgirl in a sea of buy one, get one vintage turquoise. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. New episodes will be released bi-monthly. Please leave us a review if you feel so led by going to iTunes. Your feedback will really help us breed the idea of grabbing life by the horns with a cowgirl state of mind into women across the globe. Some that may have never even had the privilege to throw their leg over a horse, but could most certainly use the cowgirl state of mind while navigating life. Thanks again, y'all. Until next time, keep pursuing your dreams with that all go and no woe mentality. Remember, you're writing a story that's worth saddling up for, sister.